Hey everyone, welcome back. Ever wonder what goes into making the stuff we use every day? Like our phones, cars, even buildings.
Yeah, it's not magic, though. It sometimes feels that way.
Right. Today we're diving into the world of the people who make those materials a reality. Metallurgical technicians.
It's a field most people don't think much about, but it's essential. We're talking about the journey of a metal, from raw ore to a finished product.
Okay, so paint me a picture. What does a metallurgical technician actually do?
It's a surprisingly diverse field. They're doing things like conducting experiments, analyzing the composition of materials, figuring out the best ways to extract and process them.
So we're talking about more than just like beakers and test tubes.
Oh, absolutely. Think high-tech equipment, like X-ray diffraction, to analyze the crystal structure of a metal. It's a blend of scientific principles and practical hands-on work.
Wow, so it's not all just lab work then.
You'd be surprised. Labs and research facilities are common, for sure, but you could find yourself on a production floor, right next to where the materials are being made.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Some metallurgical technicians even work in the field near mines or drilling sites.
No kidding. So there's an element of like adventure to it too.
You could say that. It's not for everyone, though. It can be physically demanding and sometimes involves working with hazardous materials.
That makes sense. The career guide we have here actually mentions that it can be pretty demanding work.
It's true, you need to be comfortable in those kinds of environments.
Yeah.
But the challenges are often reflected in the earning potential.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it can be on par with some engineering roles, which is pretty impressive.
So it's tough, but potentially very rewarding. I like it. So for someone intrigued by this blend of brain and brawn, how do they even become a metallurgical technician?
Well, a strong foundation in science and engineering is key.
Okay, so what kind of education are we talking about here?
A degree in metallurgical engineering is a common path, but material science, even chemical or mechanical engineering, can get you there.
So really anything that gives you that groundwork for understanding how materials behave.
Exactly. But it's not just about textbook knowledge, of course.
Right. What are some of the specific skills that someone would need to really excel in this field?
You need strong reading comprehension, for one. You'll be poring over technical documents, research papers, that kind of thing.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
And of course, a solid understanding of scientific principles is a must. Plus, proficiency in math and engineering concepts.
So you really need that ability to take the knowledge and actually apply it, not just memorize it.
Exactly. It's about problem solving, using your knowledge to tackle real-world challenges in the field.
That's got to be incredibly rewarding, seeing your work have that kind of tangible impact.
Oh, absolutely. Every day brings new challenges and opportunities to push the boundaries of what's possible with materials.
With that in mind, let's shift gears a bit and dive into the actual career trajectory of a metallurgical technician. So you've got your degree, you're ready to jump in. What does that entry-level experience look like?
Well, you'd likely start as a junior metallurgical technician.
So kind of like an apprenticeship then.
Exactly. You'd be assisting the senior technicians, getting that hands-on experience with the experiments.
Learning the ropes, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. Whether it's in a lab setting or maybe even out in the field.
This career guide actually lists out some examples, like assisting with research on minerals, metals, alloys.
Right. It's all about building those foundational skills.
It's like they even have you working with oil and gas.
Oh, yeah, it can definitely be a diverse field, even at the entry level.
So you're doing a lot of those basic tests, analyzing samples, things like that.
And those basic tasks are really crucial because that's where you develop that attention to detail.
Right, which I imagine is pretty important in this kind of work.
Absolutely. Got to be meticulous.
Yeah.
So you start as a junior technician, but where do you go from there?
Yeah, what's the path for growth look like in this field?
Well, as you gain experience, you might move up to a senior metallurgical technician role.
Makes sense. More responsibility, I imagine.
For sure. You'd have more independence, maybe even leading your own projects, conducting those more complex analyses.
Oh, cool. You might even end up mentoring those junior technicians that you were once one yourself.
Exactly. It comes full circle.
I like it. And then for those with like a real drive, are there leadership roles available too?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You could be managing teams, overseeing those big research projects,
Right.
even making decisions about extraction processes and things.
So at that point, you're really the one kind of steering the ship.
In a way, yeah. Lead metallurgical technicians, they're the strategic thinkers.
Always looking for ways to innovate.
Exactly. Improve efficiency, maybe even discover a whole new method. Who knows?
That's really cool. So we're talking about like a multi-tiered career path here, each level with like increasing responsibility. But even once you reach the top, you can't just stop learning, right?
Yeah,
especially in a field like this.
you're absolutely right. Yeah, this field is constantly evolving, new technologies, new discoveries all the time.
So how do metallurgical technicians stay on top of their game? What does continuous learning look like in this profession?
Well, there are professional certifications like the CMT.
CMT.
Yeah, Certified Metallurgical Technician.
Okay, so that's like a way to like prove your expertise.
Exactly. Shows employers you're the real deal. And then there's industry conferences, always a great way to network, stay updated on the latest and greatest.
Right, because you've got to stay ahead of the curve, especially in material science, it seems like.
Oh, for sure. And of course, reading industry journals, keeping up with the latest research, that never goes out of style.
So you've always got to be learning. It's an investment in yourself, really.
You got it.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We talked about what metallurgical technicians do, where they work, how they can progress in their careers. But let's get real for a second. What about the pros and cons here?
Yeah, it's important to weigh both sides before jumping into any career.
For sure. So let's start with the good stuff. What are some of the major pros of being a metallurgical technician?
Well, as we touched on earlier, the earning potential is definitely a major plus.
Yeah, those specialized skills, they're in high demand.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Companies are willing to pay top dollar to attract the right talent. So it's a good move financially.
Right. It's not just about, loving science. It can be a smart career choice overall.
Exactly. And beyond that, you have the opportunity to really specialize if you want.
Oh, interesting. So you could focus on a particular metal or a specific extraction process.
Yeah, you could become a real expert in a niche area, which is pretty cool.
That's pretty appealing, getting to really dive deep into what you're most interested in.
Right. And for a lot of people, there's also that satisfaction of knowing you're contributing to something, essential.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of take those things for granted. Like our phones, cars, they all rely on these materials, and none of it would be possible without metallurgical technicians.
Right. You're playing a vital role in shaping the world around us.
That's a pretty powerful motivator, knowing your work has that kind of impact. But let's be realistic. Every job has its downsides. What are some of the cons or maybe challenges that someone might encounter in this line of work?
Well, we did mention the physical demands and, potential exposure to hazards, so that's something to be mindful of.
Yeah, definitely got to prioritize safety.
Absolutely. And depending on the specific role or industry, you might encounter irregular hours, maybe some travel.
And of course, as we talked about, continuous learning is a must. Not really a con, but definitely something to keep in mind.
Definitely something to be aware of going in. It's about finding a career that matches your strengths and interests.
Right, so you've got to weigh all those factors. So for our listener out there, we've explored the ins and outs of being a metallurgical technician. We've covered their core duties, talked about the different places they work, and even mapped out a potential career path.
Not to mention the pros and cons. Got to weigh those carefully.
Exactly. It's all about finding the right fit. But, thinking about everything we've discussed, it really does seem like material science is on the verge of a major transformation.
Oh, absolutely. There's so much happening right now with sustainability, new materials, all that. It's a really exciting time to be in the field.
And who knows, maybe one of our listeners will be the one to totally revolutionize how we do things.
I wouldn't be surprised. There's always room for innovation.
Exactly. So on that note of discovery, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of metallurgical technicians.
Hopefully it's given everyone a lot to think about.
I think so. Remember, this was just a starting point. We encourage you to keep exploring, keep learning. Those resources we mentioned are a great place to start.
And who knows? Maybe we'll see you in the field someday.
Until then, keep those brains buzzing. We'll catch you on the flip side of curiosity.